Hello and welcome to another video, and this time it's an unboxing and a review. And the product that I'm going to review goes back to earlier in 2019 when I bought it on Amazon Prime Day. Now, when I buy things on Amazon Prime Day, they had to meet a certain criteria. The first thing is it's got to be something that I would like, not necessarily need. The second thing is I always set the filter to biggest discount. And when you couple a big discount with something that you would quite like and a large star rating, you get normally something that I would purchase. And in this case I did. It's the Hohem iSteady smartphone gimbal. And if you'd like to see a review of this, stay tuned. So we're at the work desk and we're going to have a look at this device. This, as I said earlier in the introduction, although I think I got the name slightly wrong, I said it was the Hohem iSteady Mobile, but what I didn't realise was this little icon here is actually a plus sign. So it's actually the iSteady Mobile Plus. And let's have a look at the box. The box is reasonably sturdy from the outside. If you look at this side, you've got all sorts of information, QR codes for all of the social media, and you've got some international safety, recycling symbols, you know, the normal stuff that you would get on a device like this. I'm not even sure that if that is a valid CE symbol. We'll give them the benefit of doubt and say it is. Obviously there's a QR code here to get the app, so we know there's an associated app from the Google Play Store or the App Store. It's got a barcode on here. There's nothing on this side other than a little serial number sticker. And on the other side, nothing on there. And on the back, it's a slightly different photograph. Actually, this is probably the front now, I'm thinking about it. But yeah, so that's the device. Now, let's have a look and see if we can get in. I think we just... Do we move it up? No, we don't move it up. We actually take it off the side. I'm probably doing this from the wrong side. Let's try it this way. And open it from there. Right, so that's the flap that comes back, and what comes in here. And these flaps back. I think what I should mention is that some people won't actually understand what I'm actually unboxing here, and they won't understand what this device is. It's called a gimbal, and it's basically a stabilizing device for anybody who's videoing something. The bigger devices that all of these prosumer, consumer and professional small devices came from with the steady cams. I think if everybody's watched a sports show, and you'll see somebody with a big professional video camera or a television camera and a big harness that it's strapped onto, and they'll be walking around and it'll be staying, the picture will be staying still. So that's a steady cam, and it's essentially just a very expensive version of what these are, but those have things like gyroscopes in to keep the image steady. So this one is a gimbal for a mobile device, a mobile phone, a smartphone. So as you can see, just unboxing it, you get quite a nice little carrier case with it's been pre-molded, vacuum molded around the actual device, and it's got a zip around it, but it's quite sturdy. It's not it doesn't look cheap. It looks quite a decently well designed, put together device. So we can take this box away because we don't need that now. It has done its job. Let's open it up. Okay, so we get a little instruction book. It's basically a quick start guide. All in English, it looks to be. Yeah, it's all in English, and that gives you some information about the product, where you get information, where you get some details from. That's the actual company called Hohem Tech from Nanshan in China. There's a disclaimer, there's a product overview, a quick start, another QR code to download the app, gimbal charging, mounting the smartphone, balancing the smartphone, operation instructions, how to align the phone. I something about the app itself, and then calibration and firmware upgrading. So that's quite a nice little starter. Another little customer service thing, and this is probably specifically for UK. Is this? No, it's just saying you can get some stuff, and if you review the product, you get stuff. Obviously, this one isn't a paid review. This is something that I bought myself. Yeah, another caution thing. What's this about? Do not turn on the gimbal without a balance load. Yeah, because that screws things up. A warranty card. An extension of the warranty. But this is the actual device. Ubiquitous silica gel to keep the moisture at bay. Yeah, so one of the things that that made me buy this was the cheap price, and this was obviously in Prime Now Day, or Amazon Prime Day rather. Now it was £71 on Prime Day. As I said, I normally do this on the biggest discount on the filter, and it said it was £199 at one point. I don't believe that for a second. The DJI Osmo, which I would think is probably the most familiar of this type of smartphone gimbal, that's only selling currently now for like £99. So and after Prime Now Day, this is actually selling for £89. So the actual reason to buy this over the DJI gimbal, which is the market leader, is probably a lot more reduced. But obviously I got this for £71, so that's a little bit more of an incentive. So what we've got here, so we've got USB cable, a little small tripod, which has a standard tripod mount, and what I would probably suggest is that we keep this screwed onto the bottom of the gimbal all the time, actually, because you could use it as an extra handle as well as a small tripod. And this is actually the gimbal itself. So this is the place where the mobile phone goes. The mobile phone goes in here. And this is just a series of balances and weights and motors. It's a plastic construction, but it's a decent plastic construction. There's nothing shoddy here. There's a weight in here. You can tell there's weights in here, and there's a weight in here. There's a little locker button here. So I don't know what all this does at the moment, but I think the first thing I should do is charge it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to charge it up now. I'm going to try and get it back in the case. I'll charge it up now and come back in a little while that's all charged up. So it's all charged up now, and before I go and show you the gimbal operating, we'll go through the control panel on the handle. It's all fairly simple. At the top of the controls there are two LEDs, a Bluetooth one on the left, which shows that you have a connection between your phone and the gimbal, and the mode LED on the right, which is the green light, which I'll talk through later. Although the gimbal will function correctly without the Bluetooth connection being enabled, lots of features that I'm going to talk about now does require that functionality to be available and connected. So be aware of this. There's this big circle in the center of the control panel, which is the manual joystick. And that's there for you to position the phone to point to where you want. It's primarily, I guess, useful for when you have it on a tripod and you want to do a smooth pan down or pan up. That's quite useful. On the left bottom side, there is the zoom control, and that's, as you might expect, triggers off the camera zoom in and out, and that's pretty much all it does. But again, this is a functionality that needs the Bluetooth enabled. Then that leaves two buttons on the right hand side which have multiple functionality. First, the button with the red dot is obviously the on-off button. If you long press it, it turns the gimbal on or off depending on what state it's in, but it also has other functions. So a short press tells the app on the phone to take a still photograph, and 2 quick clicks tells the phone to start videoing, and if you press it again, obviously it stops videoing. This is again a Bluetooth enabled function. And that leaves the final multifunction button, which switches between modes on the gimbal. I'll go through each of these modes in a bit more detail shortly, but let's go through them quickly now so you can see them. Position 1 is pan and follow mode, and it's the default option when you switch on the gimbal, and that is indicated by the green LED flashing once quickly. Position 2 is available by clicking the mode button twice in quick succession, and that's pan, tilt and follow mode, and the green LED should flash twice quickly. Position 3 is the all lock mode, and you get to that by pressing the mode button 3 times, and the LED flashes 3 times. And finally, position 4 is the all follow mode. You press this 4 times on the button, but it only has a long blink on the LED, not 4 quick successive blinks on the LED. So it's a long blink for the all follow mode. This button is also used for calibration of the gimbal, and you do that by a long 6-second press. But quite frankly, I've not really had to use the calibration yet. It was all finally set up when I switched it on and I got it out of the box. So if you need to do that calibration, there's a video to tell you that on YouTube. But you basically lie it down flat on a table and long press it, and that's enough to calibrate it. There's one last item I need to show you, and that is the trigger button on the handle. So if you hold this down constantly, the gimbal goes in what they call a sports mode, where essentially the left-right scrolling of the camera is quick, and it allows you to follow sports. That's the idea anyway. But although, to be honest, I'm not going to be following much sport from sitting in my comfortable armchair, so I'll probably not be going to use that. But the most useful thing on the trigger is if you double click the trigger, it resets all axes to the center point. So if you've got the gimbal in a strange position, double click on the trigger, it sets it all back to normal, to default settings, which is very handy. Now let's go outside and run through all of these options again whilst looking at the gimbal in action. Before we start looking at the gimbal from this point of view, it's important to remember that we should be looking at the stability and position of the phone, not what the gimbal is doing. So ignore all of the movements of the gimbal and just ensure that you look at what the phone is doing, as this shows how stable the image will be in the actual camera operation. So starting with mode 1, pan and follow. The left and right movement is smooth, but the tilt and roll axis is locked. Mode 2 is pan, tilt and follow, where the roll axis is locked, but you can move smoothly left and right and tilt up and down. Mode 3 is all lock mode. The phone stays in one orientation only. And mode 4 is all follow mode. Tilt, pan and roll axes are all allowed to follow. So, yes, so here we are out in the great blue yonder. It's autumn in the UK, and I have spent weeks trying to plan to get some footage of the gimbal in action, but it's been raining every single day. So I thought, in order to get this video out quite quickly, well, quickly by my standards, I'd have to go for traipsing in the woods in the rain. And let me emphasize, it is raining quite heavily here. There are little patches of flooding all over the place. Anyway, to get on with it, I've got it in the standard mode here, which is the default mode, which is the pan and tilt mode. And again, you're not reviewing this on the actual quality of the footage from the camera, because there could be any smartphone in there. You're just looking to see how good it is in terms of stability, really, which is the whole point of the gimbal after all. So pan tilt means you can go from left to right, and the point of view shouldn't deviate that much and should be fairly stable. Yes, again, apologies if you see rain on the lens. That's just the nature of living in northern England in the autumn here. So you get an idea of how stable this is. I mean, I am almost doing a ballet act to wander around puddles as we're following. So from what I can see, and obviously I'll need to view it later on just to check, but from what I can see, it's doing a pretty good job. If you want to see what's on the right of me, there's a fence. If you want to see what's down there, you can't do that. So I'll have to change mode for that. I'm going to do pan tilt and follow mode to see what that. You can see the puddles. So pan tilt and follow mode will show you around, like so. And it seems to be tracking quite well, again, from what I can see, but I'm quite conscious that rain might be clouding my judgment. So I'm just going to put it back on the pan tilt mode, and I'm just going to reset it. Cool. And then we're off again. You'll hear a lot of noise. I haven't brought an external microphone with me, because people already think I'm mad as it is. But there is a road off to the left. Let's see if I can show you that area down there. There's a fence, lots of trees, but behind that is a fairly, well, it's a major arterial route through the UK. So we'll come back over here and continue. I think it's doing quite well, actually. I mean, this cost £71. All right, it was on Prime Now deal. For £71 for a smartphone gimbal, and you know, it's getting quite saturated here, and so far it seems to still be working. So we can also test how waterproof it is, and I guess more splashproof than the waterproof. There's nothing to say that it has an IP rating, so I'm just being very cavalier with my attitude and using this outside in the rain. A little bit of a green patch. And again, pan, tilt and follow will allow me to show you up in the sky a bit more. Down here on the road, and then back again to pan and tilt. Now this sports mode that I mentioned earlier on means that I can hold down the trigger permanently and go like this, quickly from side to side, and it's supposed to track for fast moving objects like, I don't know, people doing hurdles or pole vaulters or the like. There's not many of those there today. It's a Sunday morning, and here we are. Anyway, so there's pretty much, I think I've got all of the footage I need to now to show you how it's doing. I could run a bit, which is very unlike me, but there you go. I'm running now, putting a pace on. And stepping over puddles as we go, so it seems to be doing quite well. Now, there is also one other thing that I need to check and test out, and that is it has face tracking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera around. I'm going to try and turn the camera around. Apparently I'm going to stop the camera first because it's not going to twist the camera around while it's recording, so hang on, I'll stop first. Okay, so now we've turned the camera around and it's facing me. Now there is a little option here which is, unfortunately it's not on the menu item on the handle, which is a bit of a problem, but I can face track. So let me try and push that on. I realise that my hands are wet, so it might not work, but there you go, face tracking here. If I can move over here, it'll face track. It sometimes gets lost. Okay, I've gone off the screen. Hello, I'm here. I'm here. See if it can track me. Okay, so that's probably not great. Right, I've now got the handle 90 degrees, and it kind of face tracks. Let's see if I go out a bit. Yeah, it kind of, what you can't see is there's a little green box around my face in the app, and it does track where my face is gone, but it's not very good at going when I leave this frame to follow me. And now the whole gimbal is in a strange position, so I'm going to stop and turn that off. Can I just turn that off now? I can turn it off. Except it's still face tracking, so let me just stop that for a bit. Oh dear. Yeah. Okay, so here we are again. Yeah, that didn't work as well as I thought it was going to work. When I've done it in the dry, I mean, again, I'll make the caveat, it is absolutely, yes, it's very wet here. There is water droplets off the weights and the various pivot points here. So this is probably a good test for it, and it still generally seems to be working. I think the face tracking is, in the dry, if you're very slow, it'll track quite well. I've tried it out before. Unfortunately, I didn't take any video footage of it. But other than that, it's not the best. But the rest of the gimbal is not that bad, you know. I mean, for what I'm going to be using it for, take just shots like this, really, flowing shots outside. It is, it's not too bad. Okay, so I think I'm going to wander back up the path now. Get a little run going. And once again, this gimbal is doing all the stabilization. The stabilization that was in the phone app is negated because it uses its own phone app for photography and videos. So, okay, I'm out of breath now. Yes, I'm very unfit. And now we'll have a little wander up the road. Have another look down to see the puddles. But I'm trying to get myself round. This is in pan, tilt and follow mode, which is good for keeping those perspective shots. So there we have it, my external review. I am very out of breath, not used to running. My external review of the Hohem iSteady Plus smartphone gimbal. If you want a basic gimbal that does pan, tilt and follow, it's excellent. It's literally raining cats and dogs, as we say in the UK, but it's dripping with water, it's still functioning, and I definitely don't think it has any sort of IP rating. So it's pretty good. But if you, for £70, something like that, the deal that I got it on, go for it. But the software's not great. Face tracking works sometimes, and if you're going to get charged £90, personally, I'd go for the DJI Osmo Mobile 3 because the software is much more mature. The functionality on the actual gimbal itself seems to be a lot better. It seems to be a bit more robust, and it's market leader, so you can't go wrong. So £60–70 if you want to get this. If you can get this, then that's great. If you can't, or if they're charging you over what I would call a decent price, so that's £90, £100 for it, get the DJI Osmo instead. But if you do get this given as a gift, it's not bad. Don't dismiss it out of hand. I'm certainly going to be using it until it packs up, and given by the vast amount of rain that's been dripping on it today, maybe in a couple of minutes. Anyway, back to me in my lovely warm studio. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little video, and if you do enjoy reviews and that sort of thing, please tell me in the comment section below, because it's the only way I get to find out what you really want. Also, please subscribe and click the little dingy bell, because that's how YouTube works. But until the next time, thanks for watching.